I was folding laundry when my phone rang. It was Sunday morning, mid-April, and the windows were open. The air smelled like rain and dogwood blossoms. Oliver, my orange tabby, was sprawled across a pile of warm towels I'd just pulled from the dryer. I should have let the call go to voicemail. I had exactly 2 loads left to finish, a grocery list half written on the counter, and a volunteer shift at the rescue center starting at noon. But the number on the screen said a Blue Ridge Community Bank, and I'd been with them since I was 23. I assumed it was a fraud alert, someone trying to use my debit card in another state. I answered. "Ms. Pierce?" The voice was professional, careful. "Female. This is Jennifer Caldwell from Blue Ridge Community Bank's Loan Servicing Department. I'm calling regarding account number ending in 4492. Are you available to speak?" I muted the dryer. "Yes, I'm here. We show you as the primary borrower on a residential mortgage originated in May of 2023. The property address is 298 Cedar Hollow Drive. Payments are currently 90 days past due, and we need to discuss bringing the account current." I sat down on the edge of the couch. Oliver gave me a reproachful look for disturbing his nap. "I don't have a mortgage," I said. "I rent." There was a pause. I could hear typing. "According to our records, you applied for a 30-year fixed-rate mortgage in the amount of $540,000. The loan closed on May 19, 2023. The outstanding balance is currently $522,000. The room tilted slightly. I gripped the arm of the couch. "I didn't apply for a mortgage. I've never applied for a mortgage." More typing. "Ms. Pierce, I understand this is concerning. I'm going to connect you with our fraud investigation team. Please hold." The hold music was a tinny version of something classical. I stared at the pile of towels, still warm, still smelling like lavender detergent. My heart was doing something strange, not racing exactly, but beating harder, like it was trying to get my attention. When the next voice came on, I explained everything again. No, I had not applied for a mortgage. No, I did not own property. No, I had not authorized anyone to use my information. The representative, his name was Marcus, asked if I could come to the branch on Monday morning. He asked if I had checked my credit reports recently. He used the phrase identity theft 3 times. After I hung up, I sat on the couch for a long time. Oliver climbed into my lap and kneaded my thighs with his front paws. Outside, the sky had turned grey. It was going to rain. I pulled up my credit report on my phone. It took 4 tries to remember my login. When it finally loaded, I scrolled slowly through the list of accounts. Credit card, car loan I'd paid off 2 years ago, student loans almost cleared. And then, Blue Ridge Community Bank, mortgage, opened May 2023, balance $522,408. And below that, Blue Ridge Community Bank, home equity line, opened August 2024, balance $37,200. My hands were shaking. I set the phone face down on the couch and focused on breathing. In through the nose, out through the mouth, the way the therapist I'd seen briefly after my ex and I broke up had taught me. Oliver purred against my chest, oblivious. I picked up the phone again and opened my email. I searched for a Blue Ridge and a mortgage and a loan. Nothing. I searched for a Cedar Hollow. Nothing. But when I searched the address on Google Maps, it came up immediately, a 2-story colonial with pale blue siding and a wraparound porch. The listing photos showed hardwood floors, granite countertops, a renovated kitchen. I knew that house. It was my sister's house. I didn't go to my volunteer shift. I called Rachel, my friend who worked part-time at the rescue center and part-time as a legal consultant, and told her I was sick. It wasn't a lie. My stomach felt like I'd swallowed something sharp. Instead, I sat at my kitchen table with my laptop and a notebook and started making a list. I'm good at lists. Lists make sense. They have beginnings and endings and clear action items. The list started like this. Pull all 3 credit reports, full versions. Request mortgage documents from bank. File police report. Freeze credit. Call mom and dad. I stared at number 5 for a long time before I crossed it out and wrote, wait until I know more. I spent the rest of Sunday pulling records. All 3 credit bureaus. Every alert email I'd ignored over the past 3 years. Pre-approval offers, account updates, things I'd assumed were spam. I found 19 emails I deleted without reading. 19 warnings I'd missed because I was too busy helping my mother recover from gallbladder surgery, too busy driving my sister to court-mandated parenting classes after her DUI, too busy being the person everyone called when they needed something fixed. By the time the sun set, I had a folder an inch thick and a headache that felt like my skull was trying to collapse inward. Monday morning, I was waiting outside Blue Ridge Community Bank when they unlocked the doors at 9. Jennifer Caldwell met me in a small conference room that smelled like burnt coffee and air freshener. She was younger than I'd expected, maybe 30, with neat dark hair and a sympathetic expression that made my throat tight. She slid a manila folder across the table. This is everything we have on file for the mortgage account. I opened it slowly. The first page was a loan application with my name typed neatly at the top. My social security number. My date of birth. My employer listed as a wildlife rescue center of Weston, North Carolina. Annual income, $48,000. The signature at the bottom looked exactly like mine, the way my H loops, the way the tail of the P curves back under the line. I flipped through the pages. More signatures. Initials. Date after date after date. May 15th, 2023. May 17th, 2023. May 19th, 2023. 19 pages in total, each one bearing a version of my signature that could have been mine. Who submitted this application? I asked. Jennifer checked her notes. It was submitted by Madison Turner. She listed herself as a co-borrower, but the loan was structured with you as primary due to credit qualifications. Madison. Maddie. My baby sister. And the home equity line? Another document. Another set of forged signatures. Loan purpose listed as a kitchen renovation. We'll need you to file a police report, Jennifer said gently, and complete an identity theft affidavit. Once we have those, we can start the fraud investigation process. The account will be placed on hold, but I need to be clear, this is a complex situation. The property is occupied. There are legal questions about ownership and restitution. I nodded. My mouth was dry. Do you know who might have had access to your personal information? I thought about my father, who had done my taxes every year since I was 18. I thought about my sister, who had stayed with me for 2 months after her divorce from her first husband, who had borrowed my car and my credit card and once, memorably, my work laptop. I thought about my mother, who kept a file cabinet in the basement with everyone's birth certificates and social security cards for emergencies. Yes, EI said. I know. I filed the police report at the Asheville Police Department on Tuesday afternoon. The officer who took my statement was kind but matter-of-fact. He explained that identity theft cases were difficult to prosecute, especially when family members were involved. He gave me a case number and a photocopy of the report and told me to follow up in a week. I drove home in the rain. The wipers scraped rhythmically across the windshield. I thought about the last time I'd seen Maddie, 2 Sundays ago, at our parents' house for dinner. She'd been cheerful, animated, talking about Caleb's new job and the kids' soccer schedule and how they were thinking about redoing the master bathroom. She'd worn a cashmere sweater I didn't recognize and had her nails done in a glossy nude shade. I'd complimented her on the sweater. She'd smiled and said, "I'm trying to take better care of myself." I'd felt proud of her. Wednesday morning, Rachel showed up at my apartment with coffee and bagels. She let herself in with the spare key I'd given her last year and found me sitting on the floor of my bedroom, surrounded by printed documents and sticky notes. "Hannah," she said carefully, setting the coffee down. "Have you slept?" "Some." She sat down across from me, cross-legged. Rachel is the kind of person who looks competent even in yoga pants. She used to be a prosecutor before she burned out and transitioned to consulting work. She's brilliant and blunt and one of the few people I trust completely. "Tell me everything," she said. So I did. I walked her through the timeline, the documents, the amounts. I told her about the forged signatures and the home equity line and the fact that my sister was living in a house purchased with my stolen identity. Rachel listened without interrupting, her expression growing darker. When I finished, she was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "You need a lawyer. Not just any lawyer, someone who specializes in financial crimes." "I can't afford." "Hannah." She cut me off gently. "This isn't about affording it. This is about protecting yourself from a felony-level fraud. I know someone. His name is Daniel Harper. He used to be a federal prosecutor. He's expensive, but he's good, and he'll take this seriously." I looked down at my hands. My cuticles were ragged from anxious picking. "They're my family," I said quietly. "They committed fraud," Rachel said. "They stole over $500,000 using your identity. That's not family. That's crime." Daniel Harper's office was in a restored brick building downtown, the kind with original hardwood floors and tall windows. His receptionist offered me coffee I didn't drink. I sat in the waiting area and tried not to think about the hourly rate Rachel had mentioned. When Daniel came out to meet me, he was younger than I expected, maybe 45, with silver-streaked dark hair and the kind of calm, assessing gaze that made me sit up straighter. He shook my hand firmly and led me to his office. "Rachel filled me in on the basics," he said, settling behind his desk. "But I want to hear it from you. Start from the beginning." I told the story again. It was getting easier, more mechanical. By the time I reached the part about the home equity line, my voice was steady. Daniel took notes on a legal pad. When I finished, he sat back and steepled his fingers. "This is wire fraud, mortgage fraud, and identity theft," he said. "In North Carolina, identity theft that results in financial loss over $100,000 is a Class G felony. The federal charges would be even more serious. The bank will likely pursue civil action to recover their losses. And you," he paused, "you have grounds for a civil suit against everyone involved." My stomach twisted. "My sister has 2 kids." "Your sister committed multiple felonies," Daniel said, not unkindly. "Her having children doesn't change that." "What happens if I press charges?" "Realistically, if the DA takes it, and given the amount and the documentation, they probably will, your sister could face prison time. More likely, she'll be offered a plea deal, probation, restitution, community service. Your father could be charged as an accessory if he knowingly provided your information. The bank will want the property sold to recover their losses. You'll need to work with them to ensure none of this debt stays attached to your name. I felt lightheaded. And if I don't press charges? Then you're still on the hook for over $500,000, your credit is destroyed, and your family gets away with stealing your financial future. He leaned forward. Hannah, I need you to understand something. They will try to make you feel guilty. They will cry. They will beg. They will tell you that you're tearing the family apart. But you didn't do this. They did. And if you don't hold them accountable, they'll keep taking until there's nothing left. I didn't go to Sunday dinner. I told my mother I was sick. She texted back, "Feel better, sweetheart. We'll miss you. Maddie is making her pot roast." I sat on my couch with Oliver purring in my lap and thought about pot roast. About all the Sunday dinners I'd attended, the birthdays and holidays and emergency babysitting sessions. About being the responsible one. The reliable one, the safety net. I thought about the time my mother called me at 2 in the morning because my father had chest pains, and I drove them to the ER and sat in the waiting room for 6 hours while they ran tests. It was indigestion. My mother cried with relief and hugged me and said, "What would we do without you?" I thought about co-signing my sister's car loan when she was 24 and couldn't get approved on her own. About the 3 months of payments I'd covered when she forgot to pay. About the way she'd laughed it off and promised to pay me back and never did. I thought about my father doing my taxes, year after year, telling me it was easier this way, more efficient. About how I'd trusted him with paperwork I didn't fully understand because he was my father and fathers are supposed to protect you. They hadn't failed to see me. They'd seen exactly what they could take. The next Sunday, I went to dinner. I brought the folder. My mother answered the door wearing her apron, the one with sunflowers on it that I'd given her for Christmas 3 years ago. She hugged me tightly. "Hannah, sweetheart, you look so thin. Are you eating enough?" "I'm fine, Mom." The house smelled like roasting chicken and rosemary. My father was in the living room watching a baseball game. Maddie was in the kitchen tossing a salad. Caleb was outside with the kids. Everything looked normal. Everything felt like a stage set. We sat down to eat. My mother said grace. We passed dishes. My father asked about work. Maddie talked about the kids' soccer tournament and how Caleb's new job was going and how they were thinking about upgrading the countertops. "The ones we have now are builder grade," as she said, wrinkling her nose. "I want something with more character." I set down my fork. "Which countertops?" She blinked. "What? Which countertops are you planning to upgrade?" "In our kitchen." "Why?" I reached into my bag and pulled out the folder. I set it on the table between the mashed potatoes and the green beans. "Because you bought those countertops with a home equity line of credit opened in my name." The room went silent. My mother's smile froze. My father set down his water glass carefully. "Hannah," my mother said slowly, "what are you talking about?" I opened the folder and pulled out the mortgage application. I slid it toward Maddie. "I'm talking about the mortgage you took out in my name 3 years ago. The house at 298 Cedar Hollow Drive. Your house." Maddie's face went white. She didn't touch the paper. "Hannah," my father started. "And the home equity line you opened last year," I continued, pulling out the second set of documents. "For $37,000. Also in my name." My mother's hand went to her throat. This must be some kind of mistake. Some kind of paperwork mix-up. It's not a mistake, I said. My voice was calm. I was surprised by how calm I sounded. It's fraud. There are 19 forged signatures. I filed a police report. Maddie's eyes filled with tears. Hannah, I can explain. Don't. I looked at her directly. Don't explain. Don't cry. Don't tell me you didn't have a choice. You had a choice. You chose to steal from me. Your credit was better, and Maddie said, her voice breaking. I couldn't get approved on my own. I just needed help. Family asks for help, I said. They don't commit felonies. My father stood up abruptly. Now, Hannah, let's not be dramatic. We can fix this. Privately. As a family. Sit down, Dad. Something in my tone made him sit. I've hired a lawyer, I said. Daniel Harper. Maybe you've heard of him. Former federal prosecutor. I looked around the table. He's very good at his job. He's already filed the fraud claim with the bank. The police are investigating. And unless we reach an agreement, the district attorney's office will be filing charges. My mother started crying. Soft, wounded sounds that once would have made me rush to comfort her. You would put your sister in jail, she whispered. You would do that to your own family? She put herself in jail, I said. I'm just holding her accountable. Hannah, please. Maddie reached across the table toward me. I have kids. I made a mistake. I'll pay you back. With what money? I asked. The money you stole from me? We can work something out, and my father said. He was using his reasonable voice, the one he used when he was trying to manage a situation. Your mother and I have some savings. We can help cover. Cover what? $522,000? Plus $37,000? Plus the damage to my credit? Plus 3 years of interest? He looked away. I stood up. My legs felt steady. I'm meeting with my lawyer and representatives from the bank on Wednesday at 10 a.m. You're invited. All of you. You can bring your own lawyer if you want. We're going to discuss restitution and criminal charges and how this gets resolved. If you don't show up, my lawyer will proceed without you. I picked up my bag. My mother was crying harder now, her face in her hands. My father stared at the table. Maddie looked like she might be sick. Hannah, my mother said through her tears. Please don't do this. Think about your father's blood pressure. Think about the children. I stopped at the door. I've spent my whole life thinking about everyone else, I said quietly. It's time I thought about myself. I walked out. Behind me, I heard my mother's voice rising, and my father saying something I couldn't make out, and Maddie crying. I got in my car and drove home through the spring evening. The dogwoods were blooming. The sky was turning pink. I didn't cry until I was back in my apartment with the door locked and Oliver twining around my ankles. Then I sat on the kitchen floor and sobbed, deep, wrenching sounds that felt like they were tearing something open inside me. When I was done, I felt hollow. Clean. My mother showed up at my apartment the next evening without calling first. I heard her knocking and considered not answering. But I'm still too well trained. I opened the door. She looked smaller than usual. Her eyes were red and swollen. Can I come in? I stepped aside. She walked to the living room and sat on the edge of the couch, perched like she might need to leave quickly. Oliver watched her suspiciously from the armchair. Hannah, sweetheart, as she started. Her voice was soft, pleading. I've been up all night. I can't stop thinking about this. About the family. About what this is going to do to all of us. I stayed standing. Okay. Your sister made a mistake. A terrible mistake. But she's trying so hard to be better. She's in therapy. She's working on herself. And those kids, her voice broke. Those babies don't deserve to lose their mother. Those babies deserve to have a mother who doesn't commit fraud, I said. Don't be cruel. My mother's eyes flashed. That's not who you are. You're the kind one. The understanding one. The one who helps. I'm the one whose identity got stolen, I said. By my sister. With help from my father. Your father didn't know. Mom. I sat down across from her. Dad gave her my social security number. He had to. That's how she got the loan. So either he knew what was happening, or he was criminally negligent. Either way, he's involved. My mother twisted her hands in her lap. If you press charges, this will destroy the family. Maddie destroyed the family when she decided to steal from me. She was desperate. The first house they looked at fell through, and she was so depressed, and she just wanted to give her kids a stable home. Then she should have worked on her credit. Saved money. Asked for help. I leaned forward. I would have helped her, Mom. If she'd asked. If she'd been honest. Instead, she stole. And you're here asking me to let her get away with it. I'm asking you to have mercy, and my mother said, and now she was crying again. I'm asking you to remember that we're family. That family forgives. Family doesn't steal $500,000, I said. She stood up abruptly. Fine. You want to destroy your sister's life? You want to put her in prison? You want those children to grow up visiting their mother through glass? Fine. But don't expect me to watch it happen. Don't expect me to forgive you. She left. The door shut hard behind her. I sat in the silence and felt nothing at all. My father came to the rescue center 2 days later. I was in the middle of bottle feeding a litter of orphan fox kits when Susan, the receptionist, came to tell me I had a visitor. I handed the kit to one of the volunteers and washed my hands. My father was waiting in the parking lot, leaning against his truck. He looked older than I remembered, more grey in his hair, deeper lines around his eyes. Hannah. He straightened when he saw me. I was hoping we could talk. I crossed my arms. What do you want, Dad? He looked uncomfortable. I brought something. He reached into the truck and pulled out a folder. Your mother and I talked to a financial advisor. We can take out a loan against the house. It won't cover everything, but it's a start. If you drop the police report and agree not to pursue charges, we can work out a payment plan. Private. No lawyers. No courts. I took the folder. Inside was a handwritten proposal, $40,000 now, monthly payments of $2,000 for the next 10 years. This is less than 10% of what was stolen, I said. It's what we can afford. I looked at him. Really looked at him. I tried to find the father who taught me to ride a bike, who'd helped me with my math homework, who'd cried at my college graduation. Did you know what Maddie was doing? I asked. He shifted his weight. I gave her your information because she said she needed it for some kind of cosigner paperwork. I didn't ask questions. I thought. You thought what? That it was normal for a cosigner to never know they're cosigning? I thought she'd tell you, he said quietly. I thought it was between you two. You're a CPA, Dad. You do taxes for a living. You know what mortgage fraud looks like. He looked away. I didn't want to know. And there it was. The truth. He didn't want to know. I can't accept this, I said, handing back the folder. I have a meeting with my lawyer tomorrow. You and Mom and Maddie are welcome to attend. If you don't, my lawyer will proceed without you. Hannah. No. I stepped back. You don't get to show up here with a lowball offer and expect me to make this easy for you. You don't get to ask me to protect you from the consequences of your choices. I'm done protecting people who hurt me. I walked back inside. My hands were shaking, but my head was clear. Wednesday morning. Daniel Harper's office. I arrived early. Rachel came with me for moral support. We sat in the conference room and waited. At 9:58, my family arrived. My mother, my father, and Maddie. No Caleb. No lawyer. They looked exhausted. Daniel greeted them professionally and invited them to sit. Jennifer Caldwell from the bank joined us via video call. Daniel laid out the documents like a prosecutor presenting evidence: the mortgage application, the home equity line paperwork, the forensic signature analysis he'd commissioned, the police report, the fraud determination letter from the bank. Let me be very clear about where we are, Daniel said. Ms. Pierce has been the victim of identity theft and mortgage fraud totaling approximately $560,000. The evidence is comprehensive and incontrovertible. The bank has determined that the signatures are fraudulent. The police are investigating. The district attorney's office has been notified. He slid a document across the table. This is a proposed settlement agreement. If all parties sign, we can resolve this matter without criminal prosecution. The terms are as follows. He read them aloud. 1. The property at 298 Cedar Hollow Drive will be listed for sale immediately. All proceeds after closing costs will go to the bank to satisfy the mortgage. 2. Madison Turner and Robert Pierce will be jointly and severally liable for the remaining balance, including the home equity line and all associated costs. A repayment plan will be established. 3. Madison Turner will provide a written admission of fraud and identity theft. 4. All parties will cooperate fully with the bank's investigation and credit repair process for Hannah Pierce. 5. Madison Turner will complete 200 hours of community service and attend mandatory financial counseling. 6. Robert Pierce will surrender his access to Hannah Pierce's tax documents and personal information. 7. Hannah Pierce will have no contact with Madison Turner or Robert and Linda Pierce except through legal counsel or supervised visitation, for a period of no less than 2 years. 8. If any term is violated, Hannah Pierce reserves the right to pursue criminal charges and civil damages without restriction. You have 24 hours to agree, Daniel finished. After that, we proceed with criminal prosecution. The room was silent. My mother spoke first. Her voice was thin. You're taking their house. You're taking our grandchildren's home. They stole that home, Daniel said calmly. It was never legally theirs. Maddie was crying silently, tears streaming down her face. Hannah, please. I'm so sorry. I made a terrible mistake. I'll do anything. Sign the agreement, I said. My voice didn't shake. Hannah, and my father started. Sign it, or don't, I said. But understand, If you don't, I will press charges. Maddie will face prison time. You'll be charged as an accessory. The bank will sue. You'll lose everything anyway, and you'll have criminal records on top of it. My mother made a wounded sound. How can you be so cold? I'm not cold, I said. I'm just done being warm while you all freeze me out of my own life. My father picked up the pen. His hand was shaking. He signed. My mother signed, her lips pressed into a tight line. Maddie signed last, her signature barely legible through her tears. When it was done, Daniel collected the documents. We'll file this with the court. You'll receive copies within 48 hours. My family stood to leave. My mother wouldn't look at me. My father paused at the door. I hope you're satisfied, he said quietly. I'm not satisfied, I said. But I'm protected. That's enough. They left. Rachel squeezed my hand. Daniel closed his folder. You did the right thing, he said. I nodded. I didn't feel right or wrong. I just felt tired. The house sold in August. The market was good, and it went for $20,000 over asking. The bank was repaid. The remaining balance, just under $40,000, became Maddie's debt. She and Caleb moved into a rental duplex across town. My mother called me once in September, leaving a voicemail. Your sister's children are asking about you. They don't understand why Aunt Hannah doesn't come around anymore. I hope you can live with that. I deleted the message. My father sent a check in October, the first installment of restitution. $2,000. The memo line said, a payment one of 20. No note. No apology. I deposited it. By November, my credit report was clean. The fraudulent accounts were removed. My score began to climb. I started getting pre-approval offers for credit cards again. I threw them away. In December, Rachel invited me to a fundraiser at the rescue center. I almost didn't go. I was tired, and it had been a long year, and I wasn't sure I was ready for small talk and forced smiling. But Rachel insisted, and Rachel is persistent. That's where I met Nora. She was adopting a dog, a three-legged hound mix named Scout who'd been at the center for 6 months. Everyone loved Scout, but nobody wanted a dog with a missing leg. Nora didn't care. She said she liked underdogs. We started talking. She told me she worked as a landscape designer. I told her I worked in operations. We talked about Scout's medical history and the best hiking trails around Asheville and whether the rain would hold off through the weekend. 2 weeks later, I went back to the center and filled out an adoption application for Scout myself. I thought you were a cat person, Rachel said, grinning. I can be both, I said. Scout came home with me 2 days before Christmas. Oliver was deeply offended for approximately 3 hours before deciding Scout was acceptable. They slept curled up together on the couch that first night, and I sat on the floor watching them and felt something unknot in my chest. In January, I started therapy. Real therapy, not the 3 sessions I'd done after my breakup. My therapist's name was Dr. Chen, and she specialized in family trauma. She didn't tell me what to feel or how to fix things. She just listened. It's okay to be angry, as she said during our 3rd session. I don't feel angry, I said. I just feel empty. Anger is often underneath emptiness, as she said. It's the feeling we're most afraid of, so we bury it first. By March, I was angry. Furiously. Righteously angry. I was angry at my sister for stealing from me. Angry at my parents for enabling her. Angry at myself for being so easy to exploit. The anger felt clean, honest. I let myself feel it. By May, the anger had softened into something else. Not forgiveness. Not acceptance. Just clarity. I understood now that I'd been taught to disappear. To be the person who solved problems, who absorbed crises, who made myself small so others could expand. I'd been taught that love meant sacrifice, that family meant obligation, that being needed was the same as being valued. It wasn't. In June, I took a woodworking class. It was something I'd always wanted to try, and I had Saturday mornings free now that I wasn't attending family dinners. The class met in a converted warehouse downtown. The teacher was a patient woman in her 60s named Margaret, who smelled like sawdust and linseed oil. I loved it immediately. I loved the smell of fresh-cut wood, the sound of the saw, the way the grain revealed itself as you worked. I loved how meditative it was, how you had to focus completely or risk ruining the piece. There was no room for distraction, for obligation, for thinking about anyone but yourself and the wood. I started with a simple cutting board. Then a small box. By September, I was working on bowls. Margaret taught me how to use salvaged wood, pieces other people had discarded. Barn boards. Fallen trees. Wood with cracks and knots and imperfections. She showed me how to stabilize the weak parts, how to fill the voids with resin, how to turn damage into design. It's called spalting, she said, pointing to the dark lines running through a piece of maple. It's technically decay. But look how beautiful it is. I made a bowl from that maple. It took me 3 weeks. I sanded it until it was smooth as glass, then finished it with oil that brought out the depth of the grain. The spalting looked like rivers running through mountains. I named the collection Reclaimed. 1 year after the phone call, I was sitting in a cafe downtown with my laptop, working on inventory reports for the rescue center. The cafe was busy. Saturday morning, tourists mixed with locals, the air full of coffee and conversation. A woman sat down at the table next to mine. She was maybe 30, with tired eyes and an anxious energy that reminded me of myself a year ago. Her phone rang. She answered it, and I heard her say, Mom, I can't just loan you $15,000. I have my own bills." She listened, her face tightening. "I know Dad's business is struggling, but that's not my responsibility. No, I'm not being selfish. Mom, please." She hung up. Her hands were shaking. I don't know what made me speak. Maybe it was recognizing something in her face. Maybe it was just that I'd been where she was, and I wished someone had told me what I needed to hear. "Excuse me," I said quietly. She looked up, startled. "I'm sorry," I said. "I wasn't trying to eavesdrop. But I heard part of your conversation, and I wanted to say that it's okay to say no." Her eyes filled with tears. "It's my parents." "I know," I said. "But saying no doesn't make you a bad daughter. It makes you a person with boundaries." She stared at me. "They'll be so angry." "Probably," I said. "But their anger is not your emergency. You don't have to set yourself on fire to keep them warm." She was crying now, quiet and hopeless. "I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to stop being the one who fixes everything." "Start small," I said. "One no at a time. And find a good therapist." I pulled out my phone and sent her Dr. Chen's contact information. She helped me. The woman saved the number. "Thank you," she whispered. "You're going to be okay," I said. And I meant it. That evening, I worked in my tiny apartment studio, really just the corner of my bedroom where I'd set up a workbench. Scout was asleep at my feet. Oliver was perched on the windowsill, watching birds. I was finishing a bowl made from black walnut with a live edge. The bark was still intact on one side, rough and organic. The inside was smooth, oiled to a deep chocolate brown. It had taken me 2 months. I signed the bottom with the wood-burning tool, HP 2026. Then I added my maker's mark, a small mountain with a rising sun behind it. I held the bowl in my hands, feeling its weight. It had come from a tree that had fallen in a storm, but that someone else had seen as debris. I'd turned it into something useful. Something beautiful. My phone buzzed. A text from Rachel. Dinner tomorrow? I'm making lasagna. I texted back. Yes. I'll bring wine. Another text, this one from Nora, the woman I'd met at the fundraiser. We'd been getting coffee occasionally, just as friends, though I thought maybe it could become something more. She sent a picture of Scout's brother, another hound mix who'd just been adopted. Scout has a sibling reunion buddy now, she wrote. I smiled and texted back a heart emoji. Outside, the sky was turning gold. Summer was fading into autumn. Soon the leaves would change, and the mountains would burn with color. I set the bowl on my shelf next to the others. 11 bowls now. 11 pieces of reclaimed wood, transformed. I thought about the phone call a year ago. The way my life had cracked open. The way I'd had to choose between being kind and being protected, and how I'd learned those weren't opposites, they were just different things, and sometimes you had to choose protection first. I thought about my family, living their lives across town without me. I didn't miss them. I missed the idea of them, the family I'd wanted to have, the family I'd thought we were. But missing an illusion isn't the same as missing reality. I was learning to tell the difference. Scout stretched and yawned, his tail thumping against the floor. Oliver chirped at a moth near the window. The apartment smelled like wood oil and the lavender candle I'd lit earlier. I picked up another piece of wood, cherry this time, with a crack running through the center that I'd fill with gold resin. It would take weeks. I had time. They hadn't failed to see me. They'd seen exactly what they could take. Now I decided what remained mine.